milder. Rain, drizzle and low cloud slowly edging eastwards throughout Monday, and it's going to be milder than of late for all. And that's how the weather's shaping up during tomorrow morning.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
It's 11 o'clock. You are watching Headliners, a comedic romp through tomorrow's newspaper front pages in the company of two top comedians. Tonight, Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon will be covering all the papers we're going to be hearing from some big stories featured in the Times newspaper, The Sun, and many, many more. And don't forget, by the way, that in the course of this show, we'll cover everything. It's light and shade, so big opinions and big laughs. But first up, the headlines with Polly.
Mark, thank you. The Education Secretary has become the first government minister to back reducing the COVID isolation period from 7 to 5 days, as he thinks it would help tackle teaching staff shortages. Nadeem Zahawi says there's no doubt staff absences will rise as pupils return to school and that the next 2 weeks could be a little bumpy. Mr Zahawi's also insisting lateral flow tests will remain free, following reports they could be limited to high-risk settings. Meanwhile, Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, and the Labour Party criticised the idea as wrong-headed. But Mr Zahawi says he's puzzled by reports in the papers suggesting the universal availability of lat flow tests may be axed. A teenage girl has been arrested in connection with an investigation into the murder of a 35-year-old man in Christchurch in Dorset. Dorset police say the 15-year-old girl has been detained on suspicion of assisting an offender following the death of Edward Reeve. Two 16-year-old boys remain in police custody, having been arrested on suspicion of murder early this week. Court documents in Australia claim the government did not give Novak Djokovic an assurance his medical exemption to enter the country would be accepted. The tennis player's legal team has said the authorities indicated he did meet the requirements for quarantine-free entry. Djokovic has spent a fourth day in an immigration detention centre ahead of a court hearing which is due to begin very shortly in Australia. 19 people, including 9 children, have been killed in an apartment fire in New York, according to the city's mayor. Around 60 people were injured in the fire in the Bronx area of the city, and at least 32 people were admitted to hospital. According to the New York Fire Department, around 200 firefighters were called to the scene at around 11 o'clock local time to tackle the blaze at the 19-storey building. The cause of the fire is believed to have started from a heating appliance. Mayor Eric Adams says this is one of the worst fires witnessed in the city.
The impact of this fire is going to really bring a level of just pain and despair in our city. The numbers are horrific.
A young boy lost in the chaos of the Afghanistan airlift has been reunited with his relatives. Sahal Ahmadi was just 2 months old when he was handed over to a soldier across an airport wall at Kabul airport. But a 29-year-old taxi driver called Hamid Safi found him in the airport and decided to take him in. So baby Sahal was finally reunited with his grandfather and other relatives in Kabul on Saturday. You're up to date. Now back to headliners.
Welcome to Headliners with me, Mark Dolan. Before we take you on a comical journey through the papers, let's have a look at Monday's headlines, shall we? And let's start with the Daily Mail. Save us from the cost of living crisis, Boris. Senior Tories last night warned Boris Johnson he'll be punished at the polls unless he acts to tackle the cost of living crisis. Meanwhile, The Guardian next. Gove's £4 billion cladding plan, far too little to end fire safety crisis. And UK should be the pioneer for living with COVID. Well, I echo that emotion. Things certainly seem to be moving in the right direction this year, but of course only time will tell. Next up, we've got The Independent. And they are running with England avoid Ashes whitewash and harder than ever to stop terror attacks in Britain. Preventing terror attacks is more difficult than it's ever been, one of Britain's most senior counter-terror police officers has warned in an exclusive interview with The Independent. But here's a refreshing thing. It's the newspaper front page of The Independent on Monday, the 10th of January. No mention of COVID. Happy days. OK, let's go to the Metro now. Going, Cron. At last, some good news as COVID cases start to fall across the UK. Meanwhile, in the Eye, PM expected to announce a living with COVID plan by March. Boris Johnson is working on a strategy to move away from restrictions. New measures to be revealed within weeks could include winding down testing, scrapping free lateral flow tests, and reducing the COVID isolation period. Well, here's hoping. The Express, PM urged act now on the cost of living squeeze. That is going to, I think, be the dominant political story of the year. And Fit for a Queen, Mary Berry's quest to find the perfect platinum jubilee pudding. OK, next up, The Mirror. Exclusive Mirror probe, failing on every level. Falling down classrooms and a generation of kids betrayed. The sickening truth behind Tories' promise to even up our nation. The Mirror today revealed the truth behind Tory levelling up claims as one head teacher tells of a crumbling school building with no funding for repairs. Well, I think what would have been a good start is not to close those schools during lockdown. That might have helped. Just my opinion, of course. The Daily Telegraph, Sunak backs call for 5-day COVID isolation. Awful story, a picture story here. At least 19 killed in a blaze in a New York apartment block. A very moving photograph of a firefighter cradling a young child. NHS told to send cancer patients to private hospitals for treatment, and saving rates are static whilst mortgages rise. And last but not least, The Star. Guys, we bet you think this story's about you. You're so vain. Modern men are so vain they spend more time mirror bothering than woman bothering. Bet you think this song's about you, don't you? Don't you? Great stuff, as always, from The Star. It's great to have your company on Headliners, where, as always, I'm joined by two of Britain's top comedians. Well, they're talented and they were sober enough to come in on a Sunday night, so that's all we needed to know. We have a headliner's debutante with us tonight in the form of the brilliant Diane Spencer, and a man who's contractually obliged to remain 1 metre away from Diane Spencer, Nick Dixon.
Outrageous. That is outrageous.
The truth hurts.
I'm cool. Chicks dig me. I work out. I'm outraged.
You don't have to be afraid of him because he's got a tag.
I can't move the chair.
Yes, that's one of his techniques. Listen, let's crack on with the show. And let's talk about the cost of living crisis, because that seems to be a huge thing. But before we do that, we've talked about Kazakhstan quite a bit. So this story from the Mail is certainly worth looking at, isn't it?
Well, definitely. I mean, the thing with the cost of living crisis, I mean, I hope that we're not going to descend into the kind of violence and terror that Kazakhstan is currently embroiled in. But I do feel like this is all part of Putin's master plan.
I see.
Yes, I've worked out what he's going to do, Mark. I'm fully ahead of Putin on this. He is going to cut the internet cable under the sea. Right, because that's why he's been scouting it out, as we all know.
Yes.
We've been discussing this. I saw you discuss this on Headliners.
Yeah.
He's then going to fire one of his rockets to destroy the satellites while our internet is down, because he's proved he can do that. Then all of his magical troops are going to just suddenly find their way into, Ukraine and Kazakhstan, will switch the lights back on, and he'll be like, oh, what? I was just trying to help. I just had to come in and help everybody. And it's all part of his master plan, which is why he's causing unrest in our country.
He's got the smoking gun. But it's interesting. I think there's so much truth in what you say, because I know you've got your tongue in your cheek, but the bottom line is this guy is a disruptor. He doesn't have to invade countries to cause problems.
I think it's incredible that some people don't think that he will invade. And Putin's very clever. He's doing it in a very subtle way. Now, I realise, obviously, I've sort of skewed away from actually the main story, which is what's happening right here.
Yeah.
And honestly, the rise, we've been living in a cost of living crunch. And The Guardian said we've moved from a crunch to a catastrophe, which, to be honest with you, is my least favourite breakfast cereal.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I don't fancy any catastrophes for breakfast, but I mean, that's the problem. It will, as I mentioned earlier, Nick, dominate, I think, the political agenda for the whole of this year, because hopefully the pandemic is at its tail's end, but inflation is coming, unemployment may rise, household debt is very high.
Yes.
We're screwed, aren't we?
It is quite depressing, Mark. We keep covering this quite depressing cost of living stuff. I mean, Lord Frost, who resigned, I was on your show when he resigned, remember, we covered it, breaking news. So he resigned. He's quite smart here, because he's putting pressure on Boris by appealing to his sense of wanting to win election. He's saying that he risks losing it unless he returns to Tory values of free markets, free debate and low taxes. So I think Lord Frost is smart to, appeal to Boris's desire to win the next election. Maybe he'll take it seriously then.
Yes, but I notice that he started saying things after he's gone. And I don't like it when people do that. It's like they wait till they're outside and they go, "You're doing it wrong."
It's like a football pundit up in the studio just saying, "I could have done better there."
Yeah. And it's like, well, no, you were part of it. You could have made a change. And what he did was, he's the guy who then gave Brexit to Liz Truss, who is literally the busiest woman in the Conservative Party. She's not only the Foreign Secretary, she's also the Minister for Women and Equalities. She's written 2 books. She drove my Uber here. She's so busy. I've heard she's the next Bond, and she's got to sort out Brexit. It's ridiculous.
Well, I hope you tipped her for your journey in tonight. I think you raised a really good point about the idea, what the Americans call the armchair quarterback. Lord Frost is out of politics now, at least out of frontline politics, and he's sort of, making remarks from the sidelines. But I personally think he's a loss to the cabinet, but he's the guy that got Brexit done.
It can be very powerful doing that. I mean, that's what Nigel Farage does. It influences things without actually being, in the mainstream cabinet or whatever.
Yeah, now you're talking. There you go. Let's hope none of us ever get a proper job. Moving on, the Sunday Times are reporting that HSBC may not be the moral guardians of banking we thought they were, Nick.
Yes, indeed. This is in the Sunday Times. HSBC holding shares in Chinese company linked to Uyghur atrocities. So I'm very glad to be with NatWest, by the way. That's not an advert for Ofcom. That's satire, but although I am with them. But anyway, so the UK's biggest bank, which is HSBC.
I think they'll probably send you some free pens now or something.
Yes, that's what I'm banking on. No pun intended, but it is there if you want it.
That's why we pay him the big bucks.
It's there if you want it, guys. Now he's cooking. The UK's biggest bank, which is HSBC, I hate it when they do that. You don't know who they're talking about. Bought £2.2 million of shares in Xinjiang Tianye, which may well be how you pronounce that. And yes, this group describes itself as the largest state-owned enterprise in the 8th division of XPCC, the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps, which is very much tied with the oppression of the Uyghurs, which is the issue here, and it's actually subject to US sanctions. So the question is really, should HSBC be involved in this? Marco Rubio in the US, the senator, has said that it's another example of a company turning a blind eye to genocide and slavery just to turn a profit. And Ian Duncan Smith here has said it's Project Kowtow is alive and well in some British companies. So yeah, it seems that, and one more thing, University of Sheffield Hallam looked into this, and they found this company had documents that suggested they were involved in a wide array of so-called poverty alleviation programs, which is just a sort of euphemism for Uyghur oppression. It includes labour transfers, where they basically take them from their home and say you've got to work in some factory miles away and try and just mess up their whole community. So yeah, bit dodgy from HSBC.
I don't think any multinational company is without sin, Diane. I think it's just the nature of these extraordinary corporate monoliths.
Sadly, there always seems to be somebody who suffers at the poor end. And what is really sad about this is that it makes me think of those dystopian films. You know, the ones like RoboCop, where they have these adverts saying, oh, look, we've done our poverty allegiance programme. There are no poor people. Right. Yes, that's because you've rounded them up and put them into camps. It's absolutely awful, quite frankly. Yeah, it is, I've got to say, quite deeply troubling. Well, look, let's take a short break because we've got lots more stories to get through. That's right, an exclusive first look at tomorrow's newspaper front page. It's in the company of Nick Dixon and Diane Spencer. Lots more to come. See you in 2.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Looking ahead then to tomorrow's weather, and the UK is looking cloudy with hill fog in the west. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle edging eastwards, so let's take a look at the detail. Well, very cloudy and murky across the southwest of England on Monday morning, with extensive hill fog over the moors. Patchy rain as well lying over eastern areas. It'll be dry but mostly cloudy as it starts off in the southeast, with the best of any brightness in the east, feeling chilly too. Wales starts the day on a wet note with outbreaks of rain or drizzle for most. It'll be murky with low cloud and hill fog. In contrast, it'll be a mostly dry picture for the northwest of England, although it will also be cloudy. There'll be low cloud and hill fog with patchy rain arriving from the west. And a similar story for the northeast of England on Monday morning, another cloudy start with the best of any brightness along the coast, feeling rather chilly as well. Outbreaks of rain covering most of Scotland, except for the far east where it'll start cold and dry, the rain falling as snow over the highest mountains. Northern Ireland starting cloudy and murky with hill fog and a little light drizzle in places, breezy too around the coasts, but feeling generally milder. Rain, drizzle and low cloud slowly edging eastwards throughout Monday, and it's going to be milder than of late for all. And that's how the weather's shaping up during tomorrow morning.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world. If
you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Dan Wootton, join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Headliners is now a 7-night-a-week franchise. I'm in the host's chair every Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Dominic Frisby and Simon Evans will be looking after the show Monday to Thursday. And the idea of the programme is to have a comedic and light-hearted romp through tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Tonight, in the company of two fabulous comedians, Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon. But we do light and shade. And this first particular story of this section, Diane, is quite a serious one. It's got quite serious implications, and we're going to have to tread carefully, aren't we?
Oh, we're going to have to be so gentle. So there has been a census that for some reason the SNP decided to give to the local authorities and say, give this census to the school children. And the census asks them about their sexual activities and who they're kissing and whether they've engaged in anal sex.
Wow.
Yes. And I did check whether I was permitted to say that, and as long as we're quite clinical with it, because that's the truth, and we are reporting the news. Now, what I find, I mean, there's so much in that story that makes your head explode. I used to be a secondary school teacher, and so I've actually interacted with children at this age group. And the worst part is I wouldn't tell these things to my diary because I know my mum would read it. I would barely tell them to my best friend, and yet they're asking the children to fill in this horrible...
I mean, do we know what sorts of age groups we're talking here?
14-year-olds. So they're asking 14-year-olds to detail their current sort of... It's the beginning, the blossoming of your sexual kind of life. And the worst part is, you have to put down your unique Scottish candidate number so you can identify what each child has written. But you know what parents are like, or what teachers are like. They're going to go, oh, I'm so sorry. We've discovered that according to our census, Mrs. Smith, we've discovered that your son appears to be engaging in anal sex 7 times a week.
Yeah.
Like, because children also, they might show off a bit, they might lie, they might think it's funny. I don't know, but it just seems so wrong. I mean, it's a local authority as well. At what point do you go, do you know what? Let's not get the bins. Let's not do the potholes. Let's find out who all the kids are snorking. Let's do that. Like, who?
Good impression, I think.
Thank you.
To be honest, yeah.
It's uncanny.
The last I don't know, the last person you'd want involved in your sex life is Nicola Sturgeon, isn't it? Let's be real. Because it is the SNP doing all this. It's another example of it's like the left-wing state getting more involved in your life, intrusion into your... And yeah, they're 14. These kids are legally children, so it is gross. And like you say, they can be identified. So yeah, it's all a bit gross.
But also, isn't it sort of suggestive in a way? I mean, doesn't it actually then put ideas in a kid's head going, anal sex? What's that?
Should I be doing that
That's
right
it.
now?
Am I missing out? Am I going to the wrong parties?
Is this my Duke of Edinburgh award?
Yeah. Well,
Where would you put the medal?
For Ofcom reasons, Sturgeon's argument is that these things are going to happen anyway. We can't bury our heads in the sand and pretend that young people are not exposed to these issues. So, of course, she's arguing that they're sort of getting ahead of the issue, but I disagree.
Well, we wanted to handle that story very gently. Luckily, that didn't happen. Let's move on. Tomorrow's Metro are reporting on LGBTQ plus football fans wanting to go to the upcoming World Cup in Qatar. Good luck with that, Nick.
Yes, well, I'm very against the World Cup being in Qatar because it's too hot and we have no chance of winning. But there's also a moral element. Yeah, this is in the Metro. Fans won't let Qatar's homophobic laws stop them going to the World Cup. So this is a story about Joe White, a guy who's going to go over there anyway, despite the fact that same-sex relations between men are currently illegal there. But he's going to go out to make a point. And yeah, this is a whole moral question about the Qatar World Cup. These kind of things are bound to come up if you have a World Cup there. So there's a question about what's actually going to happen. I think it's quite brave of them to go over because they don't really know if it's going to be safe. There's also this issue where they were thinking about, someone proposed a kind of host scheme where you could look after, someone can go over there and they can stay in someone's house. But that's not going to be able to happen if you're a gay person because you're going to be too concerned about it. So yeah, that's the essence of the story.
Isn't everyone in Qatar going to pretend to be really liberal and tolerant for like a month?
That's exactly it.
And then when the tournament's over, we'll just go back to being truly hateful and intolerant.
Well, yeah, that's what people are worried about. Qatar has responded to concerns by stating fans will be able to display rainbow flags inside the stadiums and everyone is welcome. But the concerns are about, are you really welcome and what will happen outside of the stadiums? I mean, this is bound to happen, is that you can't change Qatar's...
Well, is it our job to change other countries?
There is that question. I mean, obviously you can't... that's the question, isn't it? You can't change it overnight.
Why should we superimpose our values on them?
Well, yeah, that is an argument. And if you're going to have... That is an argument. You're not going to change Qatar's whole customs overnight, are you? But if you're going to have the tournament there, once you've decided that, these things are bound to come up. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that more than 6,500 people have died since the games were awarded, since 2010, in the construction of the stadiums. That's also a massive moral scandal.
Yeah, I think the only way that you should ever change other countries is just to make them have a Starbucks. I wouldn't go any further than that.
Yeah, I mean, if...
It's something I find very reassuring, and maybe...
And a McDonald's.
The Golden Arches.
Yeah,
You know
I knew you were going there, Mark. You're such a populist.
And apart from that, I wouldn't change any other territory.
I think that we should actually start a campaign to get a Starbucks on Mount Everest.
Talking.
Well, I mean, already, I think it should be in the death zone because I think that would...
That's when you need a latte macchiato, isn't it?
All the time, right? I mean, how are you expected to get to the top of Mount Everest if you have a good double shot of caffeine?
And it won't be a skinny one, not after all that hiking.
No. Oh, sweetie, we're going to get brownies. It's going to be great.
I've become the straight man of this show. I'm like the serious newsman of this show now.
You're the conscience of this programme, which means we're all in trouble.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's scraping the barrel. But I do think this is... One thing that's quite brave about this protest is you see in the Premier League, we see the sort of pointless kneeling and we saw the armbands around captains' arms, with the rainbow thing, which is all a bit of virtue signalling in this country. But to go out to Qatar as a gay person, that actually takes a bit more guts, I think.
Yeah, so big up to that young man. I hope he has a good time and I hope he's treated with respect. Now, the Mirror are reporting that Morrison's are dropping best before dates on milk packaging and that people should use, wait for it, the sniff test. Diane, tell me about your olfactory mechanism. Is it in good working order?
Well, it is actually, thank you. I'm wearing quite a lot of perfume this evening. I don't know if you can tell. It's Alien by Thierry Mugler.
So actually, we can't tell whether you've passed your sell-by date because you're so full of CK1. It's going to distract us.
Oh, my God, it's not the 90s, Mark. No, it's not...
Whoops.
Oh, my God.
I need to update my references. What is it now? Sauvage by Dior.
Isn't that the one that Johnny Depp does? No,
Why are you asking me? I'm from the north.
Did you know, by the way, apart from the...
Still be from the north and smell nice, Nick.
No,
I understand
that
apart from the allegations around Johnny Depp's sort of marital problems, that he kept that gig as the sort of face of Dior. And
because he was innocent.
Thing. But it was because it was on brand, because the idea of the sauvage is French for savage, right? And it's like, this is on brand, this is perfect for us.
I see.
That's intense, isn't it?
I know, who knew? Well, anyway, I was in the airport and there was some sauvage, so I covered myself in it. And I can tell you, Mrs. Dolan took no notice.
Oh,
Didn't make a blind bit of difference.
She did, but...
She didn't even sit next to me on the plane.
Maybe you used a little too much.
Yeah, well, it was Ryanair, we hadn't pre-booked.
The show's become considerably more lowbrow, Mark, since you joined it. I'm just joking.
We're getting to that stage in our marriage now where Ryanair said, I'm afraid you don't have seats together, and we're both like, phew, thank God for that. So tell me about this.
Well, I think that this may be Morrison's more sort of firing the virtue signal flare gun a little bit.
Have Morrison's gone woke?
I think they have. I think they've pulled the woke party popper. And what's happening is they've gone, no, guys, come on, we waste too much milk. Now, that is serious because I can't waste food at all. I will have the strangest meals at my house because I won't waste food. I'll literally have sort of sausage roll, 2 rashers of bacon, couple of yogurts, like whatever needs eating. I don't like throwing food away.
It's like a really bad episode of Ready, Steady, Cook.
It's the worst episode of Ready, Steady, Cook because it's like everybody's bought in one item and then one person has to make the whole meal. It's disgusting. I have a lot of problems. But Morrison's are saying they're going to remove the use-by date. And that way, people have to smell their milk rather than chuck it away. Now, I don't know anybody who actually sort of religiously sticks to what they read. I was struggling with the pull door because I was pushing it for a good 10 minutes. So if anybody's like me, you don't pay attention to everything that you read. I would say if the milk smells all right, drink it. And if it's a little bit chewy, don't. And that's the summary of this story.
Good. I mean, I don't want to show my age, but I think that's how, in the good old days, when I was growing up as a kid, that's how you judged whether you eat food, is the whiff test.
That's how it was done, and we've had to have northern supermarket Morrison's to return to good old common sense of just sniffing the milk. My dad always said, my dad's a professional chef, he always said those best before dates are nonsense. You can eat food way past them, years past them in some cases. And I love that we have to have the mirror to explain to us milk's life can be extended by keeping it cool and keeping bottles closed as much as possible. I mean, guys, do we need this common sense? Just sniff the milk.
Can I just give you a tip, though?
Sounds like a hashtag waiting to happen. Sounds like a Rolling Stones album title, doesn't it? Sniff the milk.
Spinal Tap.
1983, it's a bestseller.
Yeah.
If you ever get... my favourite trick is to enliven old baguettes and donuts. If you buy a pack of donuts and you get them on the cheap because they're sort of at the very end of the day...
Yellow sticker?
You could... Oh, yeah, definitely. Stick them in the freezer. And then as soon as you want one, take it out, microwave it for 30 seconds, pop it in the oven for 5 minutes on a high heat. They're beautiful. They're like... They taste fresh.
You're double cooking a frozen donut.
Oh, it's amazing.
Wow.
Have you tried it, Nick?
No, of course not. I'm learning a lot.
A lot of things he hasn't tried. Let's not go there. Ainsley Harriott, eat your heart out. There you go. Recipe tips, big opinions, big laughs. Welcome to Headliners. Lots more to come. New York are planning to allow non-citizens to vote in future elections. Nick, tell us
Yes,
more.
The Guardian. New York will allow non-citizens to vote under controversial law. So more than 800,000 non-citizens and so-called dreamers could vote in New York City municipal elections as early as next year after Mayor Eric Adams allowed legislation to become law on Sunday. Basically what's happened here is the Democrats know that illegal immigrants are some of their key voting base, and they know these people are going to vote for them, so they're trying to push through this idea, and the Republicans are obviously going to be against it. It is pushing it a bit when you're a non-citizen and you can vote. I mean, I don't like Joe Biden, but I can't just vote him out. Do you know what I mean? Even though it'd probably be more legitimate than many of the votes he received last time. Satirical content Ofcom. But yes, so anyway, that's my take. I mean, they're going as far opposite Trump as they can go. Trump wants to build a wall. Democrats are like, no, non-citizens can vote. That's about as far away from build a wall as it gets. Go on, Diane. You look
Diane, how important is the right to vote if you are a resident of a country but not a citizen? I mean, is it a fundamental human right, do you think?
Well, now this is quite interesting because I used to live in New Zealand, so I was an immigrant in another country. And for a long time, I wasn't a resident, and you become a resident, and then you can become a citizen, I think. I mean, it's possibly changed. And being able to vote is important because you do live there, and you do pay into the system, and you are part of the fabric of the society. Well, I don't think everybody's illegal, though. I suppose
it's you live in New York, perhaps you've got a job, perhaps you have a right to work there, but you don't have a US passport.
Dreamers are young migrants brought to the US illegally as children. That's what they are. They've come in illegally. Their parents have come there and they've got them in illegally, and now they're going to be able to vote. But they've also been lawful permanent residents of the city for at least a month. 30 days. That's all you need in the country. 30 days and you can vote. Even you can't defend that, Diane. Even you.
Even I can.
Can you?
You can do a lot of reading in a month.
I just think we have to be really careful who we give the vote to. I mean, Nick Dixon is just a perfect example. Let's move swiftly on. I mean, seriously, folks, what's the world coming to? Monday's Independents are reporting on a troubling situation regarding immigrants' UK status. So we're back to the immigration theme. Is this an admin problem or something more, Diane?
Well, it does feel like it's an admin problem, actually. What's happening is that there are Europeans and they want to settle in the UK, but because they've had a prosecution that... No, it's not a prosecution. I must get this correct. They've got here we go. I'll find the right
Is it
word.
like
I'm
a
so
county
sorry.
court judgment?
No,
or
it's
something?
a pending prosecution.
Pending. We've all got one of those.
Yeah.
So they've...
It's from crimes they didn't commit.
Yes. Well, or it's not been proved that they haven't committed them yet.
Right.
But yeah, they're saying that there's a group of people who have had pending prosecutions. And of course, you don't want to sort of go, wait, you robbed a bank and we're not sure if you've robbed a bank. Well, can we just wait until we find out if you did rob the bank and then maybe we'll give you a visa? I get it. But yes, like you said, Nick, these people have actually had their things sorted out and they have been found innocent. But we have this 47-year-old database called the Police National Computer. Now, I like the idea of this. It makes me think of like a very old RoboCop.
Yeah.
This database is the kind of database that's going to just wander out the building itself one day and be found on a bus stop shelter. You know, nobody's going to leave it. It's going to dodder off by itself. And the problem is we're not updating our database. And it means that then when people are applying, because this is a post-Brexit story, you know, people are applying to settle and suddenly these old prosecutions that have been dealt with haven't been updated in the database. So they're going, well, I've lived here for 20 years. I'm not guilty of anything. What's going on? So I think it is an admin issue. And what we need to do, the government need to get the leaflet team on it. And I'm actually being serious. I know I sound flippant, but the government, they're capable of producing very simple leaflets. I know, I've been reading all the COVID ones. I know exactly where to stick the ruddy thing. And they even have lovely little pictures of Wellingtons to show you should be wearing Wellingtons while you do your COVID test.
Yeah, I noticed that, by the way. Didn't realise there was a sartorial element to stopping COVID-19.
No, you must wear Wellingtons when you do your COVID test. It's in the leaflet, Mark. Now, come on. And basically, they've said that there is a way that you can do it, but they just need to make that way easier to understand for the people whom it affects.
It feels like the law's an ass. I mean, I don't want to necessarily say it's got echoes of Windrush, but it's certainly not a great look. I wonder whether the first thing they should do is migrate from Windows XP, by the sound of it. I think they're running some old software. It's probably a Dell or a Hewlett-Packard from the late 80s.
Our doddery old police
They
national
probably
computer.
can't even get Windows Explorer going on that thing. So clearly there's time for change. The world's gone mad, but there you go. Look, we've got lots more to get through, some more juicy stories, so don't go anywhere. Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon. This is Headliners. See you in 2.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, an entertaining romp through tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Big opinions, big laughs. In the company tonight of Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon. Brilliant stuff. Well, look, we're going to get through as many stories as we can. There's a lot to talk about. The Guardian is reporting on a global spread of autoimmune disease blamed on the Western diet. It's always our fault, isn't it, Nick?
Yes. More and more people around the world are suffering, Mark, because their immune systems can no longer tell the difference between healthy cells and invading microorganisms. So disease defenses that once protected them are instead attacking their tissues and organs. So, and this is increased from 40 years ago in the West, but they're now seeing it much more in the Middle East and Asia. And this is things like type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, and multiple sclerosis. So it is serious. Jordan Peterson had this. He said that he had severe autoimmune diseases and he could only eat a diet of salt and beef. And he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he said he had a bit of apple cider, and he had an overwhelming sense of impending doom, is how he put it, roughly.
Amazing. And this guy, he's an academic, an author and philosopher.
Yeah, it just came to my mind because he's a big, very popular person on YouTube and stuff, and in the world. And he was on a diet where he could only eat salt and beef, and he had this apple cider, and said he couldn't sleep for 25 days.
Well, he might have got rid of his autoimmune disease, but he probably got rid of most of his friends as well.
Yeah, salt and beef, that's tough.
I mean, imagine going down to a Bella Pasta with that guy. What a barrel of laughs. I'll just have a steak, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, come on, at least have some garlic bread.
Oh, who doesn't love garlic bread and pizza and corn dogs? I can see where the problem is.
Yeah,
right.
See, I mean, I've already sort of offered advice on revamping an old donut. I mean...
Right, you are the problem in a way,
I am the problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm, like, peddling the idea that this is OK food to
Yes,
eat.
you're normalising it.
Delicious.
You're normalising frozen donuts.
In the Western world, we have contributed, I guess, a few things. Enlightenment, democracy, the internet, not a bad shout, the market economy, parliamentary democracy. However, our contribution to food isn't the best, is it? I mean, when you think of the Western diet...
Careful, mate.
It's
My
nothing
dad's
to
a
be
chef.
proud of, is it?
All right.
My dad's a chef, so I have to object strenuously to that. We've got great food. Just don't, eat all of it all the time. Don't eat one frozen donut, not multiple ones.
I've got to say, the Great British Breakfast. You can't beat that. Come on, that is beautiful.
Well, not only is that the name of our fantastic show here on GB News, hosted by Isabel Webster and Eamon Holmes. They're back at 6 tomorrow. But you're right, the full English. That's got to do
full
it.
English, come on. And the cafe down the road from me, they're brilliant. They do King's Breakfast, Queen's Breakfast. They've got all the different shades of the full English breakfast. They're not sort of drinking the woke Kool-Aid, are they? No. His and hers breakfasts. Yeah, you can have a his and hers. Well, of course. No, Queen's breakfast comes with chips.
Oh, is that it? I see. So, I thought maybe that the
differences.
ladies' breakfast was smaller or something. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that is also actually quite important. No, you can say that with me because my husband and I, I've actually had to say to him on many occasions, babe, I can't eat as much as you. Because I am a woman and I'm smaller than him. And sometimes when we because I do most of the cooking as well, and I made us some gorgeous burgers for lunch. Oh, God, all of our food was orange, Nick. You'd have loved it. It was all orange. And but it was delicious. Lots of sauces, lots of synthetic stuff, lots of autoimmune disease causing, no fibre, and really nice. But I've got to have a smaller portion.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Blimey, especially if it's all orange. Thought you were a food guru. I'm beginning to change my mind. Now, The Guardian is reporting on that story, of course, and if you want to have a look at that, go to their website. It is quite an interesting read. Next up from The Express is perhaps one for the conspiracy theorists, COVID microchips, which, by the way, sounds like another thing you would have cooked for your husband this afternoon.
Yeah.
COVID microchips, they go in the oven, microwave, 2 minutes.
Well, there used to be microchips, and I guess it's just if you've sneezed in the box.
Can you still get microchips?
I don't think.
McCain's.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The little ones in the box,
That was
soggy
when
chips
I was
in a
a
box.
teenager and they came out. That was like, this is the future.
Yeah. But I can't. I'm sure that we're all remembering them with rose-tinted
I
tongues.
actually enjoyed the autoimmunity they gave me. Seriously, they were absolutely worth it. But tell us about this. It's quite an interesting story.
So, the founder of a medical technology company says that they're going to embed, and they have called them COVID microchips, which I think is a terrible name. And the microchip goes in your arm and it can be scanned. And they go, oh, well, this is your vaccine status. Bleep. Lovely. Now, you can already have chips implanted in your pets. My mother once rescued a ferret.
That was her story.
That was her story. And
I think your mother's a bad person and I think she's going to jail.
why? For rescuing a ferret?
That ferret story. But anyway, tell us more.
She didn't steal it, Mark. But we scanned the ferret. It had a microchip. Its name was Rex. We knew about the ferret's medical history, and we could return the ferret to its owners. Now, putting this in humans never feels great, does it? I know that Elon Musk likes putting electrodes into pigs and things like that. I'm just not sure if I'm ready. I kind of get
Not
the
without
idea.
a couple of drinks beforehand.
Yeah, maybe 4 gin and tonics and I'll think about it.
Maybe a night out at a Bella Pasta, and then we can talk.
But at what point then does it stop? Because, I mean, already people are putting microchips in strange things. There was that guy who liked to dress as Gandalf, and he put his oyster chip into his wand. So every time he got on the bus, it's like,
brilliant.
bling.
That was gold, yeah, I love that.
But putting
Let's
it
hope
in
that
your...
man's got a job now.
But putting it in your arm, and it's your COVID history. So it's not your medical history necessarily, but they're talking about including more and more information.
That'll come, won't it?
And at what point then, instead of just having your wallet nicked, does somebody come and cut your arm off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is deeply worrying. You're going to get yourself scanned. It's like, OK, you've had your booster jab, you've had your tetanus jab, you're a big fan of early 70s Elton John.
Why can't I just have a card?
You don't find Woody Allen funny. I mean, how much information is going to
Yeah.
be? You've just bought a toaster from John Lewis.
It's very scary. It's another conspiracy theory come true, as you said, Mark. My favourite part of the article is it says the company assured that the implants are not tracking devices. It's like, yeah, that's how I trust the microchips in your skin company. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not necessarily buying their PR. And my other favourite bit was, while new in humans, as you said about ferrets, this kind of technology is very common for household pets. It's like, yeah, that's not a good thing, is it? I mean, it's almost the sheep, the archetypal sheeple you've heard so much about online. And they're not quite pets, sheep, obviously, except maybe in parts of Wales. But my favourite, I'm probably Cumbria, where I'm from, and another crucial sentence is, the concern I have, this was from someone called McClure, I can't remember who, but anyway, he says, the concern I have is that this is fine if you have a relatively benign government. It's like, yes, and if you don't...
And by the way, who's got one of those these days?
Right, exactly. So it's terrifying. And it is, you know, this was the sort of thing that was conspiracy until 5 minutes ago, and now it's happening.
Yeah, this is meat and drink to the conspiracy theorists. I mean, lab leak theory, the idea that somehow COVID started in a lab.
I mean, they love it.
A year ago, if you'd sort of gone public with that, you'd have lost your job, you'd have been cancelled. Now it's being taken seriously by the American authorities. We've got the chip under the skin. I mean, this is the thing, that the public will not believe the authorities at a certain point after all of the sort of drama
at a certain point, Mark,
we've seen.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
We've got no trust in authorities since at least 2016.
I mean, people are willing already to have their birthdays and the birthdays of their children and their middle names tattooed on themselves. So some people would argue, is it just an extension of that? Has anybody got a COVID tattoo?
No, some numpty's bound to.
Somebody's got one,
Somebody,
haven't they?
the kind of person that's got
seen them, I think.
their Twitter profile, they're wearing a double mask.
And they've
with
got
some
like
blue hearts and the EU flag. And they've got their, maybe a big syringe down their forearm. Not a good look. If I see that on Tinder, I shall swipe whichever way you're supposed to swipe when it's a no. Oh my God, I'm showing my age. Now, the next one is another big story. We may have stumbled across Nick's long-lost superhero manuscript. Tell me about Alpha Men Assemble.
Oh, you want to go to Alpha Men Assemble? Yes, well, this story is in the Mail on Sunday. 200 members of a sinister anti-vax group meet in Staffordshire Park yesterday to practice smashing through police lines. These are the Mail's words, of course, not mine. An undercover Mail on Sunday reporter joined black-clad supporters of Alpha Men Assemble, brackets AMA, led by ex-Royal Fusilier Danny Glass for a combat-style training camp. Now, you see, there's a video of it. These guys are training in a park, and we're all supposed to laugh at them. My take is a bit different, because I think this is another attempt by the media to belittle people who choose not to have the vaccine. We've already had Andrew Neil saying they should be punished. We've had Karen Brady saying they should make their lives more difficult and more expensive. 2 days ago, we had Emily Sheffield saying that they should pay with their freedoms in the Evening Standard. And so, to me, if you're going to keep threatening people, now I'm not condoning violence or military actions in a park, but to me, if you're going to keep threatening people and ostracize them, you're going to have some things like this that are going to happen. But this is the Mail on Sunday trying to say, yet again, let's all have a laugh at anti-vaxxers. And it's probably just some people messing about in a park. I don't know.
It probably is. There's also an old white man complaining about diversity. Tell me about that.
You want to do this one? Well, this is so much in my hit zone because I got cancelled for something very similar. This is in the... I think it's in the Telegraph or the Mail, one of those. BBC broadcaster Nigel Rees quit after 46 years over diversity drive. So he was doing a Radio 4 show, and they were basically pushing him to hire people for the sake of diversity rather than just quality. And he's resigned over that. And it depends which way you look at this. He's basically saying we need the best person for the job. That's his argument. And he's saying it's patronising. Not least to the people who don't want to be on because they feel they're ticking a box, which I think is exactly right. It's not good for anyone, I don't think. And the BBC, of course, have replied and said, we want our output to be representative of the UK. We want contributors on our comedy shows to be wonderfully engaging and funny. These two ambitions are not mutually exclusive, and it would be highly condescending to suggest otherwise.
Yes, they are. I mean, comedians are funny or not funny.
Right.
Surely.
Well, his argument is that...
the law of the jungle in the world of comedy?
Also,
you guys are both... practitioners of the comedic arts.
And comedy is subjective as well. So one person will find you hilarious.
I think that was a joke. Quite a funny one.
No, comedy's not subjective, but carry on.
Oh,
I don't know.
But you know how people... some people will find you hilarious and some people won't.
Right. But things either work or they don't. They're either funny or not.
We've actually got a Twitter poll out right now. Is Nick Dixon funny?
Yeah, well, I've had that one on Twitter loads of times.
Oh, God, the results are in. I won't say that.
Well, the point is, you either get a laugh or not in a club, but then at this higher level, comedy becomes subjective, whether you prefer Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. That's subjective, but whether a joke works or not is not subjective. That's my only little hobby horse about that. You're just staring at me blankly. That happens a lot to me as well in comedy clubs. But
so I suppose you're saying that if a joke has a sort of structural integrity, that it actually makes sense, like an equation which is logical.
Yeah, it gets a laugh or it doesn't. It's an involuntary, visceral response. So comedy is only subjective at the higher end. But anyway, I don't know, that's going a bit off this story. The point, he's saying that it's condescending to suggest that diversity won't necessarily equal the best people, but actually it's condescending to do the opposite, which is to worry about diversity, because it will naturally happen anyway if you just get the best people. That's my...
What's most impressive about that guy is he can keep his arm mid-air for hours on end. Did you know that?
Yes,
Pretty
that is
impressive
impressive
stuff. Brilliant. Perfect time to lose the photograph. Now, let's move on. The Mail is reporting on closing the gates of hell. No, they're not closing the M1 to Luton. But, Nick, you've got a story about this.
Oh, me again. The gates of hell will be closed. Turkmenistan president orders ministers to find experts who can seal off the 230-foot-wide methane-belching crater that has been burning since 1971. Not quite since the world's been turning, but pretty similar. So, yes, it says here one of the world's most brutal autocrats has announced that he plans to close the gates of hell. That seems quite off-brand for one of the most brutal autocrats. You think they'd open the gates of hell, if anything. No. But yes, this guy, he's quite an interesting guy. He's called Gurbanguly Berdim Mohammadov, and he has been known to have a 68-foot gold leaf statue erected to himself. And in the past, he drove a car around the gates of hell, mouth of hell, in response to rumours that he was dead. And he wanted to prove that, far from being dead, he can drive a car aggressively around a fiery pit. But now he's saying he's going to close it, basically because it's wasting methane and it's got a health issue attached to it as well.
There you go. The eco-warriors once again make their voices heard. Diane, I love this story about transgenderism in swimming. Just what we need.
Well, I mean, this is one of those stories. It's happened in America, so let's put it into context.
Here we go. Not a good start.
Well, no, let's just remember, it's not UK news, it's USA news.
Fair enough.
And it's happened at a university, and there are two transgender swimmers who swam against each other, and the transgender swimmer who was born biologically female, who is transitioning to male, he won.
Right.
Against
a trans woman.
The trans woman swimmer.
Who was born a biological
and
male.
what's quite interesting about that is that a lot of people sort of go from the angle of, well, if men keep, if there are...
No, listen, I don't blame you for being confused.
It's complex.
I'm sorry, it's quite a confusing
There's actually people
story.
at home now trying to write this down.
Yeah, it's different types of men beating women at swimming, broadly. That's one way of looking at it.
It's just a little... It's a little confusing. The story itself is a little confusing. Just for me, and I'm sure other people would find it very simple to understand. I just will say that when the female-to-male swimmer won the race, he decided, because even though he was wearing a ladies' swimming costume at the time, in celebration, he ripped off the top part of his swimming costume. Now, to the sort of the crowd who were watching, they were all sort of a bit confused because they were like, because they are watching a women's race because and this is the other thing, they were all competing. So they were competing in the women's race, and it's just a wee bit. I'm so sorry. I really tried to understand
No, but
this.
it's almost like, Dan, none of this makes any sense. Who knew? I've got to say I do my bit for sort of that genre, because when I go swimming, it's very hard to work out what gender I am, partly because that water is so cold. Now, let's crack on, shall we? That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Where should we go next? Should we have some metaverse fun? I like this story in The Guardian, Diane.
Yes. Now, the metaverse, for those who are unaware, is Facebook's land grab. Because Mark Zuckerberg has decided he is going to establish Meta as the only place to go where you can be virtual and online. Now, this is not true. There are plenty of other virtual reality spaces online, but Mark Zuckerberg is cleverly trying to position himself as the place to be. Now, we've had virtual reality around for a long time. My husband has an Oculus Rift. So
I heard. Has he treatment for that?
I quite like it. It gives him a little bit of a wiggle when he walks.
There is a cream.
So the I have this story somewhere. So basically, the Oculus Rift. There's an issue. I can't find where it is. Oh, thank you ever so much. Oh, thank you.
Happy to help.
This is a rare show, an entertainment show on TV where there's too much material. I think we should have a Headliners XL one night.
Oh, definitely.
We just go into the 1 a.m. hour.
I think we need to.
We get the extras. So anyway, go on.
So essentially, the UK data watchdog, they need clarification. They're worried that when children put on the virtual reality headset, they're worried that then the children are going to go into this virtual reality world, and when the thing pops up that says, "Are you sure you're 13 or above?" and the kids, they're going to go, "Yup," and they're not.
Yeah.
Then they're going to be subject to possible online predators and inappropriate behaviour. So they're basically saying that there needs to be a watchdog, and then that they want Meta and they want Mark Zuckerberg to be responsible.
Yeah, good luck with that. Well, I tell you something, welcome to hell. It's been heaven tonight with my brilliant guests. Thanks to Nick Dixon and Diane Spencer. Headliners is back tomorrow at 11. Dan's here at 9. See you Friday.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Looking ahead then to tomorrow's weather, and the UK is looking cloudy with hill fog in the west. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle edging eastwards, so let's take a look at the detail. Well, very cloudy and murky across the southwest of England on Monday morning, with extensive hill fog over the moors. Patchy rain as well lying over eastern